Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pursuit of Relentless podcast. You have your host here, Alaina, and today I have one of my buddies, Alundas Havens, with me, and I am excited for you guys to hear his story and how he got started in business. But he runs a really great podcast as well that I got to be a guest on, so I'm going to get him to introduce his show and what he does and how he got started in business. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alaina. It's an honor being on the opposite side of the mic because I had you on my show as one of my first guests, and I absolutely loved you. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, it was fun, man. I love telling my story. I think it's one of the things that people love doing is like talking about themselves. So I think it's fun to be able to facilitate and be the one to go, hey, tell me your story, because there's always something that you can learn. And like you said earlier, it's all about learning to pivot and going, okay, well, this was my plan and now this is my plan. And sometimes you got to change it, right? So yeah, tell people about your show. How'd you get it started and everything?
Perfect. So I'll start it back from the beginning so I can kind of add context, and it really leads into the next chapter, which is funny because now I'm on the second year of the podcast, and I was thinking about that the other day, like, what's the next thing for me? Not that I have anything, not to talk about, but I have a crazy story. So for me, parents had me when they're 19, 21. So they're partying, drinking, hooking up with people all the time, people coming in and out. So at a young age, I just really didn't care for people. Also was the one that my family kind of labeled me, oh, you're the crazy one because your parents, they're narcissistic, alcoholics. So it was something where it was like I was always in the wrong, had a racist stepdad in the mix as well. So I challenged just everything he said, just because sometimes he would say some shit and I'm like, bro, what the hell? Or my mom, my mom doesn't like immigrants, but her parents are from Mexico who crossed the border from a coyote helping them. So it was something for me where like I was always asking those questions and just poking the bear and then get upset at me. But what I didn't realize was a lot of these things, trauma, being sexually assaulted as a kid, like I didn't really process this. I did put it to the back of my mind and, I'm not going to think about these things. So just kept pushing, they gave me, I was that one where they're like, oh, you're good at sports, you're good in school, you have everything figured out. And I'm like, everybody doesn't know that I'm insecure. I was the fat kid. Everybody made fun of me. I didn't make friends. Nobody wanted me. And then when I get older, start losing the weight, doing better. That's where I started repeating some of these same cycles, where I didn't notice. So it was when I went into the military because I got kicked out of my house. My stepdad was on a rant one day, asked me who I hate. I said, everybody. It's called equality. I can dish it out to anybody. I really just don't care. I was like, it's not that serious. And it just led me into that. So went to boot camp, became a U.S. Marine, and then came home on boot leave. So you have 10 days. During that time, my stepdad thought my mom was having an affair. So it was during a party, So he seen my wrestling coach, walked to the bathroom. My wrestling coach said, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. Only one that's open is the one in my mom's room. So I was like, hey, my mom's in there. Just wait. Apparently my mom's crying. 10-second span, 45 goes off. My stepdad was screaming. I had to be the one who de-escalated that situation.
Yeah.
Cops get there. I almost get arrested. The ghetto bird or the helicopter goes over the house and SWAT team goes through, wakes up my brother and sister. So it was something for me where it was not processing trauma again, because again, what I do, I run away from everything. I drink. I do what my parents did. One of my cousins got stabbed 9 times and he was strung out on meth and used to send people after me because he couldn't pay his drug debt. So it was sitting at the schoolhouse in the Marine Corps. And I'm like, man, like everything that's happening in my life, I'm glad I got away from it. But that wasn't it for me. I kept drinking, got up to drinking a gallon of whiskey. The good thing is, I was a functional alcoholic. So I was at E4 in an E6 position. So I thought I was hot shit because these people were in their mid 30s and I'm over here 20 years old, my own boss, running shit, starting a business from the ground up in the military, which is a little bit harder to do, but was different than an actual business. So it was me getting these reps, going to college, working on it, but still not processing this. Me and the wife have 2 miscarriages. I broke off with her initially before we got married because I needed to end it with my ex, and like had all this just adversity in my life, this chaos that I didn't know what to do. Because again, I can't have conversations with my family. They point me to be the bad guy no matter what I say, even if I accept, what certain things are. A week before my daughter was born, I started the Winner's Paradigm podcast. And that's really where I just poured my heart and soul into it. And I just said, hey, these are my failures as a man. This is what I've done. I've talked shit on generational trauma and saying, I fucking hate this, but I became that, So it's really tapping into that part of the mind. And that's what brings me year two is like, I started talking about that. Or, hey, I didn't indirectly mean to cheat on my wife or whatever, but we're about to get a divorce. My ex texts me, hey, do you miss me? I said, yeah. My wife's like, that's cheating. Or me being drunk, thinking I'm doing the right thing, walking a girl to her room, she kisses me, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck? But I
Yeah,
wasn't thinking about that. I thought
yeah.
I was doing the right thing,
Mhm.
being absolutely shit faced. And that was a bad call. So for me, it was living through the shit that I said I didn't want to do, and then getting aligned to people, even in business, to where I'm like, oh, I love them, but really realizing that, hey, we're all similar. And what we're doing is projecting because we're saying we don't like something about ourselves. And that's what we're finding in other people. So when I really, talked about that, and that's why I talk about recalibrating your mindset, because we have to do that sometimes. Sometimes there's things that are ingrained in us that are amazing, and then there's things that are just not good. We may be workaholics, but it strives from feeling like we're not good enough, or whatever it may stem from.
Totally. Yeah, I think a lot of my baggage goes back to my childhood and just like not growing up with my dad. And I love my dad now. Like we have a good relationship. I actually talked to him today. And I was like, I don't know what I missed out on, right? I don't know what I missed out on, but I know that it affected my relationships down the road because I never saw what a healthy relationship looked like. Right. So I was like, this man loves me. And my sister's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this guy's a narcissist. Like, what are you doing? And it took me 4 years to actually figure that out. Right. And then, oh, anyways, that was a terrible, terrible adventure. But I learned exactly what I didn't want in a relationship. Right. So for me to overcome that was I did a Bob Proctor paradigm shift, it was called. So it's funny that the winner's paradigm. Yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah, the paradigm shift that I did, it was like write down your traumas type thing. Like write down something that you want to just get rid of. And I was like, okay, I want to be okay with running into this person in public and not feeling like he's going to kill me. Like that is that's not a feeling that I want to have anymore, right? So I wrote it on a piece of paper and I said, "Dear you," he knows who he is. I'm not going to put it out there, but um thank you for teaching me what I don't want in a partner. Like, thank you for teaching me all of the lessons that I learned when I was with you, because I've learned a lot about myself and how I'm strong and how I don't have to listen to people that tell me that I'm something that I'm not, and it just was so powerful because then what you do is you fold it up and you light it on fire. And I was like, this is so empowering, right? And it really really helped me, and I think that when you put it down on paper and you can be okay with the fact that yeah, you made mistakes, that's okay. We all make mistakes, we all have to learn, we all have to grow. And if you guys want the actual details of that story, it's in my book. But yeah, it was just one thing after another. And I think after we spoke, I think it was after my first miscarriage, and I was not okay, right? I was not okay mentally. But this podcast helped pull me out of that because I stuck to my routines. I did what I said I was going to do, right? I was like, okay. I had a podcast booked 3 days later with Calvin Coils. Man, if you listen to that episode, I am emotional wreck, like pretty numb at that point. But I just knew that that was what I needed to do to get back into the groove of what I wanted, right? So trying to not let things hold you back when you're just like, man, what's next? Like, what else is coming at me? I thought my life was over, like, it was terrible. And then I just persevered and I thought about it. And I was like, nobody talks about how common miscarriages are. Nobody.
Absolutely.
And yet, it's like, how do you cope with that? Or like, how do you get help with that? Or like, what does it even mean? And like my doctors weren't doing anything about it. And I'm just like getting so frustrated that people are going, oh, well, what's wrong with you if you can't? And I'm like, you feel something clearly because it's not working. But then I went and talked to a naturopath, and she's like, you have low progesterone. I'm like, oh, like, that's it? That's all I have to do? And yeah, so I'm gonna work with that and hope that everything works out for the best. But we'll see, right? It's just being okay with the fact that I didn't die. I am okay, and
I
I've
love that.
lived to tell my story, right? And I think
Exactly.
when you're in that place, when you're feeling like you're down, I don't know if you felt the same way, but you're feeling like you're down and everything's on you and it's just constantly like, ah, 8 million miles a minute. And then you're like, okay, I made it through the day. Right? You just go
That
to
was
sleep.
that was me right there. Because like I said, the projection style was just the people I was around where they say that they're not trying to prove people wrong, but that's all they do is try to prove people wrong.
Mhm.
And for me, it was dabbling in the cannabis and really just crying for the first time in my life in journaling it, because I thought a man needs to be tough, a man needs to be this, a man needs to be whatever. But that's not what a man is. A man needs to be able to be compassionate because when we think about warriors, what is it? The Book of the Seven Rings. That's a book that clicked for me, where they're talking about
Okay.
the samurai in all their different ways. So they were gardeners, they were compassionate to their spouses. Like there was all these different things in their life that they had to get good at. That it wasn't just about fighting. And that's where I took it as a man was like, you know what? Like we have to fail in order to become great. And we have to go through all these things. And for me, like I had to be able to do that. I had to be able to almost lose my marriage to realize like, oh shit, I actually fucked up. And that's not what I want to be of the way I was leading myself down that path where that's not what I wanted, and I wasn't intentionally doing shit, but I just wasn't fucking thinking because whatever reason, I was just going a million miles a minute and just acting off impulse, being reactive because it's
Mhm.
something that kept me alive back then. Because even growing up,
Yep.
there was a lot of times where I was fighting a lot until like the age of 10. And then even when I got older, it was still watching what you're saying, shit happening. My friends sold drugs. So definitely was around people that I probably shouldn't have been around. And it definitely molded me into whatever, to where that's why that tough guy would come out. That's why the ego would come eat me up. And it brought me down to that low point to where when I would smoke, I would just cry my heart out, and start journaling on my own because when I went to the doctor, they put me on antidepressants and they're telling me that I'm forcing myself to have anxiety attacks and that I'm the one doing this because here's the bowl and it just overflows with water and that's your serotonin. There's no way that you're going to be able to have anxiety. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I took that shit. I have anxiety attacks. I feel bad versus teaching me, hey, you can be able to process that emotion. So for me, it was going into that. It was accepting it and saying, hey, I'm in control of, me and going forward. And we stack wins every single day. I had 5 good friends that died. So I had this thing about death that I'm like, I don't fucking give a fuck about death. I'm going to be able to survive. And it's like, that's not how it is. I was
Nobody
scared of
gets out
death because yeah,
alive.
my friends left me. So now I have even more abandonment issues because my friends left me and I'm over here by myself. And one of them, the last time I ever talked to him, he died of cancer, and my dumbass was blacked out drunk talking about killing myself. So it was something where, I had a dream. I got a tattoo for him that was kind of selfish. It was Aztec tribal tattoo with this girl with a like a blindfold over her eyes and her eyes are bleeding. And I got that, for myself that was symbolic because like sometimes we're hurting so bad we can't even see what's in front of us. And, held my arm in a dream. My boy was like, hey man, I love you. Like I just wanted to tell you that. Like I honor you for that. And it was something that was like that was something he would say, so it was just a dream, but it allowed me to be able to see like, hey, sometimes shit's bigger than what we think it is. Like it's not that bad sometimes. Like all these things happen because it molded you into who you are. And that's why you're going to be able to help people. You're going to be able to talk about it. And for me, it's like I just put all that shit to the back of my mind and kept drinking. But obviously that wasn't leading me down the path of where I want to be and how I'm going to be a better father, how I'm going to be a better husband. So it was really, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable and acknowledging that, hey, it's okay to feel the way we do.
Mhm. I think that that is one of the biggest points that you can take away from this is it's okay to feel the way that you do. It's not okay to stay in it, right? It's okay to sit there
Oh,
and cry. It is actually necessary. Like you have to have those feelings because if you don't have sad, you don't know what happy looks like, right? If you don't, oh, I'm gonna get emotional. It's the hormones. I'm sorry. But
you
like
got it.
if you don't have those hardships and those tough times and the frustrations and all of that, you don't know when you're actually like, "Oh, this is good. Like, this is a good day. I had a great day today." And everyone just goes, "How was your day?" Right? Or something like that. And it's like everyone's generic response is, "It was good." And I'm like, "No, man, I want to sit here and go, I changed the world today." Like I did something to give back or I did something to put myself out there and I think when we talk about our struggles and like like you're saying with antidepressants, I was the same. I couldn't take them. I literally took them for a couple days and I was just like, just a zombie. And I'm like, I don't want to feel like that.
Exactly.
I don't want to numb the pain. I want to deal with my shit. And so it took me doing 75 hard and finishing live hard after having 2 miscarriages in that year that I was like, I do deserve to win. I do deserve to win. And I think that if I can do it, you can do it. So when people use that energy and that power within them to go, no, I know I was born to be better. I was born to be excellent. And yet people are just going to be like, what are you doing? You're so silly. Ugh. Or like trying to put stuff on you or tell you you're doing stuff that you're not actually doing. And it's just like, guys, I see right through your bullshit. Like,
I
I
love
just
that so
don't
much.
associate with those people. I have one of my family members I do not associate with until she gives me an apology, because I'm like, no, I don't have to put myself in those situations where I'm feeling uncomfortable in order to make someone else happy, you know? So Christmas dinner, nope, I didn't go home, you know? But I
Mhm.
don't want to take that away from my family. So I'm like, well, whatever. But
I
it
I
is what
get
it
you
is. That's what you
100%.
make it.
I'm sorry. I get you 100% on that. I don't talk to my family either. My mom hates my wife, and
Aw,
it's what yeah, and it's bad to the point where like my mom can't be civil, and she's so strong on, and there's the narcissistic tendencies. She's so strong on in her that she doesn't even realize what she does. Like I caught my mom talking shit, and here's my failure as a man. Whenever something happens, you should deal with it up front first. I didn't do that. I screamed at my mom behind closed doors. I didn't want my wife to see that side of me. She's seen it before, and that's why I didn't want to. My dad was physically abusive, my mom abusive a little bit. So it was something for me where like I always wanted to be bigger and be tough. And I didn't want to show that side to my wife because it was like I did it and I felt bad for it. So my mom wanted to talk shit, and I literally had to be like, hey, like, what's up? Like, what else are you gonna fucking say? Like, whatever you're gonna say about her, say to me. Well, she said this. I said, hey, well, what happened when I needed money for when we were getting this house? I needed 10 G's, and I'm praying for to God, hey, I need this money so we get this house. Ain't nobody gave me money. Ain't nobody did that. My daughter's born. My mom didn't come see. I went through text messages. I sent the screenshots back to her. She never once said she was going to come to my house, which is 4.5 hours away, to come see my daughter after she was born. Never once did that. So my mom was trying to talk about, oh, she's this. And I said, hey, you're so focused on looking good for everybody. You can't even do that. I've been gone almost 7 years now, and she's still living with my grandmother to this day, and makes the excuses to my brother and sister. My sister is a junior in high school, still sleeps in the same bed with my mom, and my mom's like, well, I don't have money, like always trying to make a fucking excuse. Oh, I don't get enough child support. What do you do when you get off work? She used to drink. Now apparently she doesn't, but she gets off at 4, doesn't do jack shit. Hey, I can't respect that. I can't help you. Like when I'm up, I was going
got
to
a side hustle,
college.
lady.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Like, I got a side hustle. I'm starting a business. I'm doing whatever I can. I started a podcast to be able to get me in rooms with other people so I can just learn the mindset game. Like, if you want to put the work in, you will. So for me, it was realizing that these people don't. And what was funny is I actually started being cool with my family, but it was me reaching out, me overextending. And then here it goes. Now, my family turned on me again because the first time was because of my mom in that affair situation. The second time we're drinking, having a party. One of my cousin's boyfriends, I should have choked this dude out one night because he was getting a little bit crazy. He would just talk mad shit, but he won't do anything. He decided to charge one of my boys. My boy punched this dude in the face for running up on him, and my family came at me sideways, saying that I was trying to jump to this dude, whatever. So it literally goes to a point where this dude dies, and the family's still mad at me over this situation. And I'm like, honestly, I don't respect that dude as a person. He also got physical with my cousin and was beating her. So it was like something for me where like I just wanted to beat the hell out of this dude. And my family wanted to like really hold that against me. Oh, like you let this dude just beat the shit out of your daughter and then be cool with it. Yet you want to be mad at the other side of the family where they would actually did something to
Right.
somebody for treating their family member like that. So it was just for me to realize like, hey, sometimes people don't get it, whatever. I don't talk to my mom or my dad. My dad decided to be coked out at my gender reveal, and my wife's family noticed it. I didn't really give a shit because my dad's just going a million miles a minute, da 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 da, all the time, you know. So my wife's family's coming up to me, and that's the embarrassing part. He's like, "Hey man, what the fuck's up with your dad? Why is he trying to fight you?" Oh, that's just my dad. Me and him always want to fight each other. Like that's just what we do. And they're like, you know, and then they start asking questions, or yeah. So it was really acknowledging that, hey, like all these tendencies and everything that it is, like this negativity doesn't serve me. So at this point in time, I love them so much that I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to give you some time to figure your shit out because right now I'm working on me and I can't have that around me.
Mhm. I think it's really important to understand that abuse is not always physical either. So
Absolutely.
my ex would do this thing where he'd hold me by the throat and punch the wall beside my head and put a hole in the wall beside my head. And he'd be like, "You made me do that." And I'm like, "I didn't do anything." You know, I'm like, well, I don't even know what's happening right now. But it turned out that he was doing drugs behind my back and I had no idea because I'm super naive to that shit. And I don't have never done cocaine, you know, like I'm not that kind of person. Um, but marijuana, I loved. So I also used that quite often until recently. But I think that it has its place and it serves some people and it doesn't serve others. Right. So I think when you figure out what works for you, that's what actually matters. But also don't let it be a crutch to yourself too, because you can, it's interesting being stone cold sober and just going, oh no, I can get that same feeling from meditation. I can get that same feeling from doing a yoga class or going for a walk in the forest or whatever. Right. But for some people, they need it. I'm like, yeah, I would do all the CBD like products just to help me just level, right? Because I have ADHD and I go like you said, a million miles a minute,
100% agree.
and I have to have lists, and I forget shit all the time, and people are like, "How do you not remember that?" And I'm like, "How do you remember that?" I'm like, I don't know how you function, but I don't function the same way. So it's interesting. Like my husband has this immaculate memory. He could recite a conversation we had 5 years ago. And I'm like, I don't know what I had for lunch yesterday. I don't care because that's not
That's
something that I
me.
need to think about. Right. But when it comes to holding on to your trauma, it doesn't serve you, like you're saying. And you just got to figure out what works for you. And I think everyone's different. So you got to kind of try it and just see what's serving you, what's not serving you, right? I did the 75 hard program, finished live hard last year. Am I where I want to be? No, I'm still overweight. I know that I've been in much better shape, but you know what? I've never been this happy and content with myself, right? Because I know that I took care of my health. I took care of my health. I didn't have to go and lift weights and be all fancy pants with big muscles. No, I didn't. I went to yoga because is what was serving my soul, and I felt good after. And I was like, okay, it's better than me crying on the floor. I'd rather not cry on the floor. So I got to find what works for me. And I think I would imagine that joining the military was a big piece of what helped you transition into the growth mindset and just like chasing your best self, even though these people are trying to talk you down. Would you
So
agree?
so we'll touch on that. So for me, it was they acknowledged that I was a leader early on. So like a lot of people got to do dumb shit and just like, oh, act clueless. Like it's really funny because like when they say common sense isn't a thing, like you would be amazed at some of the shit some people like you would meet the smartest people and then you meet people like, bro, how did you even graduate high school? Like,
Right?
wow. Like, cause like one of my Marines, right? I was at Deno one time. It was like 9:30. We're supposed to be at work at 7:30. And I had a fucking feeling. I'm driving by like housing, the barracks is what they call it. And I'm like, I fucking bet this dude's gonna text me right now and he's gonna be like, hey, could you take me to work? And I'm like, I look at the text. Oh shit, I'm right, you know? And then I say, hey man, why didn't you go to work? Oh, no one could take me to work. I said, what? Like it literally takes 30 minutes to walk if you were to walk, you know. It's not far. It just takes forever because you're going all these ways up a hill, down a hill. Yeah, nobody could take me to work. So I just didn't go. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Like, who just,
Fail at
because that's that's something that doesn't happen. And that's why the military is the way it is. That's why they flip shit over everything. They want to know where you're at 24/7 and act that way. So it was some of these things for me on that level. And for me, they were like, you're a leader. You can do this because I don't like being told anything. I just do whatever the hell I have to do. If I can get you out of my face, I will. And that's why I get good at positions, is I know my job and I know how to over deliver. And it's like, why am I going to have you sweating on me, thinking about me when you got this guy who does dumb stuff versus me where you're like, hey, I know I can count on you to do all this. And that was part of it. So when it came into the growth mindset, it was just like me accomplishing so many different things and always doing something. Like no matter what, throughout my whole life, I just did my own thing because I felt like people would make fun of me, whatever it is. Like I didn't really care anymore. I was just like, okay, I wrestled in high school. I lost a year and a half straight from eighth grade to freshman year. So I really just worked on it, lifted weights, did all these things, listened to the people who told me shit. And I was like, I'm going to prove you guys wrong. So for me, when I was in the military, it was just me always grinding, figuring out, hey, what do I need to do to get to the next part, which led into, getting out the military, which is extremely difficult. Even now, where I started a business, it failed because my other partner wasn't in on it. And it was something where like I try to get a job and I have the same conversation basically from when I got out the military. When I got out the military and trying to get a job, I was hearing that, oh, you're not good at it. You don't have experience. You don't have this. Now let's fast forward. Now, 3 years later, I have a degree. I have business experience. I've sold a shit ton. They're trying to tell me at this job the other day that I'm not good at what I do. I have no loyalty. That I said, hey man, let me tell you something. Well, I had to be able to move on to my last position because my nanny moved to Minnesota. It took 6 to 8 months last time to get a nanny, and we're paying about $2,000 for every other day. So I was like, I can't afford that anymore because it was spreading us thin. And then two, I'm holding the daughter, making sales calls. My numbers dropped for 1 week. All of a sudden they boom because I'm working 60 to 80 hours. So I decided to move on. Luckily, I did do that for the right reasons because my wife ended up having a stroke. She had an aneurysm, or not, she has a brain bleed, a hemorrhage in the back of her brain, excuse me, and it caused her to be able to have the stroke and all these health conditions. So she's in the hospital for a month and whatever. So this dude's trying to tell me off the other day because I was like, I just want to get into a salary position just to make a little bit of money. I need to pay off debt so I can be able to work for my business and figure out what I need to do. I don't have money for childcare right now, so that's where I'm taking care of my daughter because literally, like I said, December my business failed, so I needed to restart it up, redid it all myself. And it was funny, like in this conversation, because this dude's telling me all this shit. I'm like, hey, bro, let me ask you, like, if I was at your company and this shit happened, my wife almost died twice. What are you guys going to do? You're not going to give a single fuck about me. And I was like, I can tell by the conversation we're having and how he's trying to tell me how I am, where it's like, he doesn't even know me. Once I said that, he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I never wanted to do that. I know you're a veteran. Like, why are we treating people like that, man? Like, why do you have to say whatever you see the qualifications, whatever? Yes, I have moved around a bit because things weren't serving me. I worked 60 to 80 hours. My wife had 2 miscarriages. I tried to do all these things and they didn't serve me. So I let them go and moved on to positions that I thought would be good for me. So in that case, it clicked to me where I was like, man, this is a sign. Like I can still work on the business. Luckily, I'm praying again. Money that I was owed came back to me from another side hustle business that I was in on that failed. And I was like, you know what? I got $1,000 now. Now I can be able to invest back into me and figure out what I got to do. So it was something where it's like, you can't just listen to these people. Cause if I could, I would just crumble. But at the same time, it's like, how are they going to tell me my worth where they haven't been through what I've been through and wake up at 3 a.m. to hit the gym or do whatever they need to do. So I was just like, I'm not going to no longer listen to these people who don't serve me as well.
Yeah. Well, I just want to give you some praise because if you understand how powerful that message is and go, yeah, no, I have to do what I have to do because I know that it's what is going to lead me to the next level in my life. And sometimes that's cutting out people, sometimes that's exiting a company, sometimes that's switching it up. And like you said, if you were just to stay defeated and go, I'm so sad, I'm just so sad, I can't do anything. Well, then you're a victim, but you're not, right? You're sitting there going, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And that makes you a champion. Big time. So props, bro.
Amen. I appreciate you.
I'm like, run through a wall now.
And that's where I'm at is you
Crush a
got to do that.
disappointment.
There you go. Yeah, I'm at the same thing where it was just like I had to think about it and break it down. Yes, the business side is difficult. The reason why too is I had all those thoughts creeping in my head where I look and started a video editing company at Alpha Influence Media. My business partner at the time loved that man to death, and that's kind of too why I actually put something out today on that where I was like, yeah, if you say it's just business, it's personal because you're messing with my time, you're messing with my money, you're messing with my family, you're messing with everything to me. So when I let you in, like I'm all in invested into you. But for me, it was something where it was like, okay, I have no skills. I'm just a salesman, and that's what I'm thinking. All of a sudden we start a podcast production, or he has a production side. I do the guesting, doing well at that. I move on to learn video editing. I'm doing that. Business falls apart. I'm like, man, all these other video editors. And then I got smart and I'm like, well, I don't need to do everything on my own. All I got to do is just really get a couple clients, get a VA. A VA can do it for me, or help me out in there. And then I can focus on growing it, do whatever else I need to do. So it was something for me where it was like, I just needed to sit back because I'm going a million miles a minute. ADHD's kicking in, OCD's kicking in. I start freaking out where it's like, I didn't need to do that because throughout this process, I just had two friends, one that helped me with breath work and meditation and coaching me, and then the other one that was helping me strengthen out the systematic approach to my business, where she's like, hey, the good thing is you didn't have an LLC the first time it failed. So now you have an LLC. Now you can be able to have everything, tax write-offs. You're fine on your own. You're the only one that's on your own business. So, hey, that's a plus that you did. You did yourself a favor. And I'm like, you know what? I didn't think about that. Like, oh, if we would have already filed for this and then the business fell apart, it would have been worse than me just filing on my own and now having my own business that I can be able to work myself out of.
Mhm. Yeah, I think working on your business is something that a lot of people don't do. They work in the business and they're like, "Yeah, my business is great." Well, what are your systems? What are your processes? How are you duplicating? Right? Andy, master duplicator. He's a master
Absolutely.
duplicator. You know that because of the people that he breeds in his business, right? These leaders, these like forward thinkers, these people who are going out into their communities and being like, how can I help? How can I be of assistance? And I think that when you're working on your business, you're taking that time to yourself to go, hey, what can I do to make it a little bit better for myself? Or for myself, lists. I do very good with lists. I do very good with reminders. If I get a reminder, I'll make that phone call. I'm not scared to make phone calls. It's just I forget who I'm supposed to freaking talk to, you know? So you've got to build a
I do
system
the
around
same
it.
thing.
Like you have to. And I think that when you're working on your business, it helps you just next level because you're going, okay, what's going good? Right? Write that stuff down. What needs improvement? What needs to go? You know? And then it sometimes is a person that's dragging you down or someone who's trying to like change your culture of your company or whatever. But I think when you're first starting out, you have to understand it's going to be a clusterfuck. It's gonna be awful. And if you think it's just gonna be all rainbows and butterflies, it doesn't actually work that way. And if you think it works that way, fantastic. But just the reality will set in that you are gonna have challenges, you are gonna have failures, you're gonna have frustrations. Like it's just working on your business means working on yourself, working on your systems, working on your people, right? Building leaders in your company and just owning the fact that you can never give up because if you give up, everyone fails. So I love
Mhm.
that Andy took the time to do 75 hard every day of his life, you know, because he's going, hey, if I fail, you fail. So I'm going to just go be excellent and excellence is going to shine through, you know? And now look at the movement that he's created with First Form and uh, Supplement Superstore and stuff. They're helping people lose weight. They're helping people get into better shape. And I'm like, yeah, mentally, physically, emotionally. And it's all of those things combined that matters. That's true happiness is when you can find those little aspects of yourself that are like, I love this. I love taking my dog for a walk in the morning. I get to be outside, which is really challenging sometimes because it gets very cold where I live, practically the North Pole. But today it's only -9, so not too bad.
Mm.
But like last week it was -39. So yeah, it's a
And
lot
I think
different.
30 degrees is cool.
Yeah, no. Yeah, -30 degrees is cold. But I think, like I said, when you're working on your business, you can you can get stuck in that mindset of why aren't things going the way that I want them to? It's going way slower than I thought. But then you're like, how much have I grown? How much have I learned this year? And I loved the mentality Ed Milet gave in one of our Arte calls. He said, you haven't been this version of yourself yet. And so you don't know what's next. And you've been through shit this year that was unexpected and frustrating and was really, really tough. But guess what? You haven't been this version of yourself yet. And I took that and was just like, yeah, I haven't. I haven't been this version, this Alaina today, right? And it's what you choose to do today that matters. So I don't know. I think that's really powerful.
I love that so much. And I love Ed. I'm going to do 75 hard soon. Now I'm finally putting all that foundation out. I do work out twice a day, but I didn't know that you can stretch or do whatever for like the second workout. And that's where I was like, oh, my body, whatever. But as I'm working through everything, and then I see another quote from Sean Whalen, and he said that a man will only change when the fear of reality becomes greater than the fear of change. And I was like, damn, that shit hit because it's true, like for me, like I didn't realize like when it came down to the business and everything, I was just like, I'm not giving up on myself. My wife's like, oh, you're going to get a job. And I was like, I'll get a job, I'll get a job to get us back on our feet. Cause that's what I have to do at this point in time. We need money. I've went through our savings to be able to travel, to work on the podcast, to pay bills, do whatever we had to do. We stayed afloat, but now it's different because I understand like I'm going to make it happen no matter what. And that was the difference for me, where it was like, I didn't, get in this mindset, oh shit. Like, yeah, I got in my feelings. Yeah, it is personal. I'm upset that that partnership didn't work out, especially because social media and people like presenting themselves as one way, even though they're not that way. Or, they may be projecting and not giving everybody the complete story. So it was something for me where I was like, I have to accept it. And one thing you mentioned, so honor you for saying this earlier, but we're talking about grace. Give yourself grace because we understand that we've been through these things. We've done this. Hey, you made it this far. We haven't been the best version of ourselves yet because we may think that, but we still have more to do. And I think that's something with me that I had to realize quick was like, I can't just stay here and be like, oh, because I got another kid on the way. I have this kid. I take care of my daughter during the day while I'm working and in between calls and whatever. Like just before we started today, I made her breakfast so she can be able to eat and then put her down for a nap. So it's like, you got to figure out for you how you're going to make shit happen and then be able to decompress on that. And that's where me, definitely 75 hard has been awesome. I've done it, started it, and then I don't do the water intake. So I've learned, all right, I need to go to the doctor. I need to get checked so I can be able to, control my bladder issues. And then I can be able to work on these next things. And it was something for me where I was like, man, I do need it because taking care of this kid all day and trying to run a business, I'm stressed the heck out sometimes because she's screaming. And I'm like, why are you screaming? You're perfectly fine. And she just wants me to sit next to her.
Yeah, that's it. And it's so funny because you don't, I think when you observe children and you're like, what is wrong with you? It's just, they want your attention. They want your love. They want you to just be like, hey, I see you. I see that you're not okay right now. I need to understand why. But I think our teammates are the same way. Our spouses are the same way. And it's all in how we can learn to read people and learn to read our own emotions and like how we're feeling. And I noticed a lot of my automatic stress responses this year, just learning and growing and going, okay, what are my automatic stress responses? Food, big one, big
Same,
trigger for me, and weed, big trigger. And
same.
when I smoke weed, I'm like, mellow, sure, yeah, we got this. We're going to figure it out. And when I don't, I'm like, and so
I had
I'm
to
like,
get the
what can I
healthy
do?
snacks for that.
Yeah. So I went to the naturopath and she's like, Alaina, try taking lavender oil. And I was like, what? Like just taking lavender oil. And she's like, think about it. It's another type of a flower, right? Marijuana is a flower, but lavender is a flower too. And it has natural calming, soothing sensation. And I was like, I'm going to try it. And so I've been taking lavender oil for a couple months now. And it's very interesting how it can help. Like it can help. And when you get your supplements correct and you understand what your body's going through, like I had no idea that my body wasn't absorbing sugar properly, and that's why I'm craving so much sugar. I had no idea that I had tiny blood cells. I'm like, "What does that even mean?" I'm like, "I don't know." But she's like, "You need a bunch of different supplements, including B and D and iron, because my body's not absorbing iron properly either." She said, "My adrenals are shut down because I'm under so much stress," but I'm like, "I don't even feel stressed." She's like, "You don't feel stressed because you don't have any hormones that are actually being produced to help you feel like you're stressed out." And I was like, "Oh," like, I had no idea, right? And so when you take that step back, and that's like working on your business of your body, like you have to understand what's
Mhm.
going on with your body as well, because you're gonna feel those moments when, like for me, TV is a big thing too. So like when I want to watch TV, I'm trying to automatically turn my brain off. And I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize I did that until I lost the babies," and I was just like, weird. Like I never watch TV. We don't have a TV in our living room. And then all of a sudden I'm like binge watching Netflix and I'm like, what is going on with me?
That's
And I'm
me
like,
with
I just got to
video
get out of the
games.
basement here. Like, this is crazy. But you just learn about yourself and you have to honor the fact that those are mechanisms that you've put in place to serve you. But maybe there's another way that you can do that a little bit differently that's better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do the same thing where I play Madden. I don't mean to play Madden all night, but when I do, let me tell so it was something for me where like I stopped playing for months and then started again and realized that is I stopped watching TV, that, limiting the TikTok use because if not, I'll get in this fucking loops of watching these healthy people eat because I'm trying not to eat Cheetos and bad shit all the time. So then I'm like over here watching all these videos. So I like you have to filter it and figure out, hey, what is best for us. And then you can also serve yourself and be like, hey, I've done a lot today. Why don't I just relax now? Because that was something for me as well. Like the wife will take the baby, go visit family, and then I'm by myself. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself because normally I'm so used to all these other responsibilities that I
Yeah.
just sit in this room and now I get anxiety because I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. So I think I'm going to start cleaning or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so important to understand because when you're in the zone and you're like, I know what I have to do to be successful, but I don't know what is holding me back. I think the one thing that you can do for yourself is acknowledge the fact that you've done the work. Acknowledge the fact that you've done the work.
Boom. Well said.
Go, okay, check. Like that's a win for the day. I won the day. And I was talking to one of my friends the other day and she's like, I just can't, like get to training on time, or I'm having a hard time with this stuff, or making time for this and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, try the power list. Like Andy's power list. Andy Frisella wrote a book called The Power List. It is fantastic for people who can't necessarily run like a super strict schedule because they have newborns and you have to not kill them, right? That's the thing. So I was like, be patient with yourself and be okay with the fact that you have to rely on like yourself to keep this baby alive. And so I was like, just try, like the power list is 5 items a day. I said, try 3 things. Try and put 3 things on a list that you're going to do today and make sure you check them off, like physically check them off. Because when you get to do that motion of checking them off, that's your congratulations, right? That's you going, hey, you did a good job. And it's a lot different when you can give yourself that credit and just go, all right, what's next? you know? But
I'm
I
the
think
same way.
that it helps a lot when you can just give yourself an opportunity to praise yourself for the work that you've done, or else you will constantly not think you're good enough. And that's normal. So I don't know. I hope that's helpful.
You hit amazing points, Elena. So I appreciate you. Thank you again.
Heck yeah, man. Okay, well, I want people to get more access to you. We are out of time, unfortunately, and I wish we weren't because I could talk for so much longer. But I want people to get access to you, and I also have some contacts that I'm going to send you as well that I think can help you in your business.
I appreciate you so much. And yeah, easiest place to find me. I keep it easy now. The Winner's Paradigm. So I had 2 podcasts. I just condensed it back into one because it made 0 sense to send everybody everywhere. So Winner's Paradigm, social media, Alundas_Havens.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for today. Thanks for your vulnerability, man. I appreciate that, and I hope that my being a part of your podcast and you being a part of my podcast really just puts it out there that when you collaborate, things happen. And I think that when you're just open to having a conversation, you never know what you can learn from a person, but it's it's a different conversation when you're willing to just be like, I wonder what I can learn, you know? So thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you. You've definitely helped me out tremendously on my journey. And I know the first time we talked, we talked about miscarriage, and I was kind of like scared to say it because I didn't really talk to people about that. But you gave me tremendous context when it was like that, where I'm like communicating with my wife, and like all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I talked to one of my friends today, and she told me this, and it was just different for me because it's like that's traditionally something we don't talk to, especially as a man. I don't talk about women or like what they go through, but just to hear it from you, and then you helped me. So like anything that I seen you do, and I was like, I love you. Hey,
Yeah,
hey, good job, keep killing it. You're making me grind harder, just seeing you work hard. So appreciate you, my friend.
yeah, cool. I am happy to have you. So, guys, reach out, go check out his podcast and his website and all that good stuff. And until next time, make sure that you share this episode with a friend. We don't run ads or anything. We are a strict value add conversation. So if you got value out of today's episode, make sure you share it and tell a friend and send me a message if there's something that you also want to see on the podcast or someone that you want me to interview. I always love getting those messages. And until next time, that's Pursuit of Relentless signing out.